We begin with a Fox News alert. Title 42, I'm checking my watch, is coming to an end, and we're bracing for a tidal wave of illegal immigrants.
The administration is prepping now for a mass release of border crossers from overcrowded facilities.
This, as President Joe Biden says, he is streamlining the immigration process.
Exactly.
Caroline Shively begins our coverage live from El Paso, Texas, where, Caroline, just in 17 hours, at midnight tonight, it all changes.
Absolutely, Brian, Stephen, Ainsley. We're here at Gate 40 along the border wall in El Paso. It's only 4 local time, and it's pretty quiet here. But just behind that wall and the razor wire are groups of migrants, and they're just waiting. Here's what you'll see come dawn. Migrants huddled together from Central and South America, some begging Border Patrol agents to let them in. In Brownsville, 800 miles from here, Fox captured video of Texas National Guard members blocking migrants from crossing the Rio Grande into the U.S. Texans in a special task force have also deployed razor wire. Migrants have set up a tent city on the Mexico side of Brownsville. More than 10,000 migrants were caught illegally trying to sneak over the border Tuesday alone. Republicans in Congress want more agents and more resources, but the White House says the GOP is the problem.
Would like to do more. He's using the tools in front of him, but Congress refuses to act. Instead, many Republican officials want to make a political case out of this. They're not looking to meet us at the table to actually deal with this issue. They want to turn this into a political stunt.
Smugglers have told many of the migrants that come tonight when Title 42 expires, the border is wide open. The Biden administration says that's a lie, and anyone who wants to come to the country must do it legally.
We've had chaos at the border for a number of years. We have to fully fund the border security effort. The purpose of what we're doing now is making legal immigration more streamlined and moving in a direction that people know that there's a legal way to get here and not a legal way.
Shelters are already filled. If non-governmental organizations are over capacity, the administration has authorized safe mass releases of migrants to city streets. That decision is in line with the 2022 memo uncovered in legal proceedings by Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody last year. Moody says, in part, DHS plans to stand down as Title 42 expires and hundreds of thousands of migrants storm the southwest border. Now, the migrants we've talked to aren't sticking around El Paso. We were just a block away from a bus station, and for $95, you could get to Albuquerque or L.A. The folks at the Greyhound station downtown say they're seeing many migrants head to New York and Chicago. Brian, Stephen, Ainsley, back to you.
Here they come. Caroline, so do the migrants, from what you understand on the other side of the border, do they understand that when Title 42 goes away, they're going to bring back Title 8? And if you try to get into the country illegally, you are excluded from coming in for 5 years. Do they understand that?
No, absolutely not. They're not watching the news. They can't even get on the apps. Their news source is coming from the smugglers, coming from the cartels, and they are saying, look, Title 42, it's over at midnight. Just come on in. The gates are going to open. So they are very confused when they arrive. They see the razor wire, the border agents, and hear this information. A lot of confusion on both sides of the border.
All right. Thanks, Caroline. Appreciate it. So let's look at Title 42. It's going away. Title 8 is there. But who knows, because the system is so overwhelmed, they're not even getting people. Do you know we already have over 500,000, well over 500,000 gotaways? That means they're not even stopping to check in and say, sign my name. The app is a joke. TikTok now has put out a video that's been viewed 96 million times. It says, Title 42 is over. You cannot be deported. So let me ask you, what message does that send? I'm coming now. The only thing stopping them, and Bill Malugin providing that video, is the Texas Special Forces that they put together. It's not even the Lone Star. It's beyond that. They have their own they don't own aircraft carrier, but they have their own airplanes. They're out there trying to hunt down people and tell them to go around, to turn around. Meanwhile, the President of the United States admits it's going to be chaotic from 2 days ago. But Mayorkas will have a press conference today at 10 o'clock and say everything is under control.
So asylum rules, these are the asylum rules. They've been tweaked. Any claim that hasn't been logged online first, you're rejected. You can't come to the country. Title VIII, to your point, Steve, if you're caught sneaking into our country, you will be deported, they say.
Right.
That means you as an illegal immigrant can't apply to enter legally in our country for 5 years. Does anyone really buy that that's going to happen?
No.
Right.
No, they don't. It was outlined in a memo in 2022 that was discovered by Ashley Moody down in Florida. And top border officials have now authorized this. If CBP and the NGOs can't hold the migrants, they can now be released at bus stops and gas stations, grocery stores, and elsewhere. They're suggesting that if they do release them near like a bus station or a place where they can have transportation.
It's just a disaster. And I'm glad Caroline pointed out that the cartels are the ones pushing the message. Hey, at midnight, they're going to open the door and you can go on in. Obviously, that's not going to be the case. But what the administration wants is they don't want this image that you're looking at right here, where those people are, they've risked their lives to get to the United States, and then there at the top is a bunch of razor wire, and they can't get in. They want people who want to come into the country to use the app and apply at these regional centers. Apparently, the Department of State is going to open 100 regional centers around the world where if you want to go to the United States, you've got to do it legally. We've been talking about the one BP app or CBP app, and apparently it's been such a disaster. They're going to come out with a new scheduling app later today so that what happens there doesn't happen after tonight. And it's just exactly the same way as maybe the federal government should not be in the app or website business, because remember when the Affordable Care Act went online and that was a disaster? Millions of people tried to go on. They couldn't do it. Well, now there's a new app coming for the folks down south.
At least Obama tried to fix it. They've been waiting forever. They said they're going to set up ports of places in Colombia and Guatemala. It's not ready yet. And those places where people can apply for admission to our country, they're called embassies. We already built them. I'm pretty sure they're done. So that's the normal situation. In New York, to give you an idea how this is flooding into our cities, it's not just making the border cities third world. In New York, there's over 60,000 people who have come through the system. Thousands going to pour in. We could have 100,000 in New York City. And Mayor Adams says, I don't take this lightly, but we've been temporarily suspending the policy surrounding timing for placement. They're saying they're not placing people in shelters anymore. And the surrounding counties in New York are saying, we're not sanctuary. We're not taking any of them. And in Rockland, they had a judge ruled you cannot unload your bus at any hotels in that county.
Meanwhile,
so this is because Biden has no policy for the federal government. New York is fighting with each other.
Biden was here in the city last night. It took 3 hours, basically, to get from one place to the next. The whole Upper East Side was
gridlock.
Yeah, gridlock. You could not move. They shut down all of Fifth Avenue. He's there for a fundraiser up on Fifth in the 90s somewhere. And then you're looking at these images. You're like, you're there fundraising with, drinking your wine or whatever with all your friends, and this is happening down on the border. We need a leader who cares about this. We need someone who's going to be strong on this. President Trump was the one who was building the wall, who was trying to end all of this illegal immigration, and he was interviewed, surprisingly, on CNN yesterday on this town hall. Listen to what he said about what's happening on our southern border.
Tomorrow is going to be a day of infamy. You're going to have tens of thousands of people pouring into our country. You're going to have millions of people pouring into our country right now at a level that nobody's ever seen before. These people are sick. Anybody that wants this to happen to our country, they're destroying our country, and this should not be allowed to happen. How they're not going to do a version of Title 42 or my Title 42, which was tough. If people are sick and have infectious diseases and lots of other problems, we don't want them being into our country. We have enough problems right now. We have problems like we've never had in the history of our country.
And see, that's what Title 42 was designed for, if people were sick with COVID, to turn them around. Of course, it ends at midnight. What happens after that? Tune in tomorrow. We'll show you.
You can't touch the former president's immigration strategy. If you are the Biden people, you can't even bring up Trump with a straight face, because the last year was 430,000 people, and he thought that was too many. You've already let in 1.2 million this fiscal year with 550,000 gotaways, which is a rough estimate and always a low estimate.
That's just what we know, Brian.
And the first story in the New York Times today, why is it that so many people are coming to the border? You really have to do a story on that? They're talking about unemployment being the reason. Are you crazy? This isn't about unemployment. This is not about communism or socialism. This is about, my God, I have a chance to get into the best country in the world for free and won't have an appearance ticket for 10 years. That should be your 3-line story in the New York Times.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.